Okay, if you all get your notes, let's begin lesson 5 of Bible Archaeology. I'm trying to show you the videos, the pictures, but we are unlucky that we are out of power. Let us see. In the end of the class, if we get a power supply, we'll see those destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah in the videos, in the YouTube videos as well as in the Google. We can see the location of these ancient cities. So today's topic would be the destruction of the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. In the Bible, these two cities are a very famous city, a very famous wicked city. But if we are now searching in a Google map, we will not find any place on the earth. We will not see this Sodom and Gomorrah anymore. So if such a very important city, twin city, if not found on the earth, people, the critics of the Bible, may say that this is just a legend. This is just a myth. These are not the real location or the real incidents about the story of Lot and his wife. These are just legends. People thought of like that. But in this lesson we will discover that these twin cities are real, in existence, and the nature of destruction being described in the Bible are true. We are going to prove from Bible archaeologists that these two cities was there as the Bible said so. So first of all, we'll find where is the exact location of the cities. Let us read. Jeff and Rose Harlan has provided information that the cities are located below the surface of the south end of the Dead Sea. So remember that word, southern end of the Dead Sea. These two cities were found beneath the water of the southern end of the Dead Sea. In the scripture itself appear several indication leading to the connection that Sodom and Gomorrah were in the southern part of the Dead Sea region. So these scientists, Jeff and Rose Harlan, had located at that place. At the same time, the Bible also indicates that these two cities were in that part of the land, southern part of the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea, if you Google it, you can easily say the Dead Sea. Why was it called a Dead Sea? Because it is not a living water, so to say. As the name indicates, Dead Sea means all the water flows inside through that sea and no water source flow out of that place. So the water is stuck there, except through the process of evaporation. No water outlets was there. And because of that, the salt content was increasing day by day. The salinity of the Dead Sea is the highest. So people could easily float on that water. People will not easily sink on that water. You may have already seen in some pictures that people can be floated above that water, that Dead Sea. It is because of the high salinity, and because of that salinity, no living things, no living beings could survive inside that water. No fish will be there. So it is really a Dead Sea. And the reason why all water flow in but no water flow out, the reason is that Dead Sea is the lowest level in the earth, below the sea level. It is about 1,300 feet below sea level. So because of that land topography, because of that land nature, that Dead Sea is below the sea level. Every part of the earth, most part of the earth are above the sea level. But this part of the Dead Sea is below sea level. If this is the level of the Dead Sea, the sea will be here. It is below the sea level. It is surrounded by the desert. It is not directly connected with the sea. If it can be connected with the sea, means even the sea water, ocean water would flow inside it. So it is because of that very nature that it is called a Dead Sea. And the reason why this Sodom and Gomorrah was located at that place, if the points we are about to discuss is true, and let's hope it is true. Why such a low level? Why the two cities of Sodom and Gomorrah was in such a place? It may be that due to the very big explosion of the two cities, God had said that, in the Bible it is said that God rained down brimstone, fire and brimstone. God had rained down from heaven, fire and brimstone. So, if such a high explosive material could rain down from the sky, there will be a very big explosion. That very big explosion would carve out a very big part of the land, would duck out a very big part of the land. So it may be because of that the two cities disappear completely. At the same time, even the earth was carved out, was dug out into a large amount. So that may be the reason behind. And at the same time, why was it now below the sea, below the water? As it is the lowest part of the earth, the sea level, or the water level of the Dead Sea increases day by day. It is because of that it is now under the water level. So three references are particularly convincing what we have seen in the Bible. Let us see. If we are to search the location of Sodom and Gomorrah, with these three hints given in the Bible, we can start searching the place, the location. Firstly, Genesis 14:10 tells us that the battle between the four kings and the five was fought in the valley of Siddim. The valley of Siddim. Remember, valley of Siddim. And the nature of the valley of Siddim was the valley of Siddim, which was full of slime pits, asphalt, or bituminous well. When you talk about bituminous well, we can just call in our local Alcatara. The valley of Siddim, which was full of slime pits. A small pits where petroleum products are being seeping out, coming out from the ground. Slime pits, or we can call bitumen as well. Bitumens means Alcatara. Bitumens has appeared and does appear in considerable quantities around the Dead Sea, especially around the southern end of it. It is very rich in petroleum product. Okay, that part of the land, the southern part of the Dead Sea, until this day, is very rich in petroleum product. So the Bible indicates that the battles between the four kings and the five kings, the five kings of the Sodoms and the four kings of the Babylons, fought there in the valley of Siddim. where Lot was also captured, as the story goes in the Bible. So if the war between the 5 kings and the 4 kings was fought in the valley of Sodom, that means that valley of Sodom is not far from the 2 cities, because the 5 kings came from those 2 cities. As the Bible said, was full of slime pits. So if we find the place where slime pits are found in large quantity, the only place would be that southern part of the Dead Sea. That is the first proof. Secondly, according to Genesis 19, 20 to 23, Lot escaped from Sodom to nearby Zoar. Lot had requested the angels to let him go to Zoar. He cannot walk up to the high mountains. So he had requested the angel to let them stay in Zoar. So that is the nearby town from Sodom and Gomorrah. Albert points out that in Roman, Byzantine, and Arabic times, there was a town, Zoar, located at the south end of the Dead Sea. Now, even that Zoar town was not found anymore, but as historian Albert points out that during the time of Romans, or the Byzantine, means the Greek and the Arabic times, the town of Zoar was located in the southern part of the Dead Sea. Since this site bear no evidence of occupations before the Christian periods, before the Christian era, before AD, okay? Albert believes that the name was to the new towns. It is the name Zoar has long been applied to a town in this region. Since this site bears no evidence of occupation before the Christian period. So this town bear no evidence of occupation before the Christian era. So the reason may be that after the complete destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, even this Zoar, the people there, since there is no more means of livelihood or no means of marketing in the nearby 2 cities, so maybe that all the people of Zoar are also shifted to different location because of the great devastation of the 2 nearby cities. So if the town of Zoar could be found in that southern part of the Dead Sea, that means that the location of Sodom and Gomorrah would be nearby it. Thirdly, Genesis 14:3 states that the battle of the 4 kings and the 5 took place in the valley of Sodom, which is the Salt Lake. The Bible says, which is the Salt Lake. Okay. Genesis 14:3 says that in the valley of Sodom, which is the Salt Lake. The Salt Lake is still clearly found. The location is clearly known, the Salt Lake. So the valley of Sodom is near the Salt Lake. So the Salt Lake and the Dead Sea is more or less the same. It is a continuous water body. In other words, Harlan suggests that this parenthetical clause indicates that parenthetical clause means which is the Salt Lake that was added by Moses during the time of his writing. So Moses give us hints that the battle took place in the valley of Sodom, which is the Salt Lake. The valley of Sodom subsequently was overflowed by the Dead Sea. So even the place where where the 9 kings fought the battle was also now underwater, overflowed by the Dead Sea. Josephus, a great Jewish historian of the 1st century, Josephus confirms the testimony of this biblical lake, the so-called Asphaltites, the name of the Dead Sea. So Jewish historian Josephus confirms in his writings that there was a lake which is called the Asphaltites. Asphaltites indicates that asphalt was found in large amount in that places. So that asphalt pits became the name, modern name of the Dead Sea. Before it was called the Dead Sea, Josephus said that the Dead Sea, the previous name of the Dead Sea was called asphalt pits. It is full of asphalt, it is full of slime pits, it is full of bitumen as well. So that is a third indication. So through the Bible record, firstly, let me repeat, in the valley of Sodom it was full of slime pits. So the location of slime pits was still found in the southern of the Dead Sea until this day. And Lot escaped to the nearby Zoar. The possible location of Zoar was also found. And the Salt Lake was also found. So through the three hints, though there is no more cities in the surface of the earth, but we can be very sure that the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah would be somewhere besides those places. That the water level is increasing has been confirmed by abundant evidence, not the least of which is the large number of dead trees standing in the water at the south end of the Dead Sea. So the clearest indication, we will not be able to see with our eyes that the water level is increasing. But we can prove that the water level is increasing easily by seeing that the water at the southern end of the Dead Sea, many dead trees are being found on the beach of the Dead Sea. So if such big trees, the dead trees are being found, it means that a plant can grow before. Now because it was covered by the salty water, the tree could not survive anymore. So if the dead tree standing in the water shows that the Dead Sea is increasing its level. The road around the southern end has been underwater since the last century. One authority writing about 1924 claimed that the southern basin had increased by about 1/3 in the previous century. So 1/3 in the previous century. In 100 years, it has been increased into a very much extent. Moreover, we know that a Roman road ran along the east side of the Dead Sea, and across that area of the part of the sea is Roman times, so to say. And perhaps it should be noted that the most part of the southern part of the Dead Sea is only 12 to 15 feet deep, and that the Dead Sea by means other than operation. So here the other proof is that how can you prove that the Dead Sea is increasing? So if this is the Dead Sea, here many dead trees are found on the beach, and Roman road was found here. No continuation, but you can see the continuation of the road here. That means in the previous century Roman road went here. So the water level is increasing. That is a clear indication. The surface of the Dead Sea is 1,300 feet below sea level, and thus the lowest part of the Earth's surface, which account on the drainage system. So here it is, Dead Sea is increasing because all the water flow inside it and no water flow outside. Then it is like a stagnant water. A stagnant water will smell bad odor. So because of its saltiness, it may not smell that bad, but no living organism would survive in that salty lake. And since no water flows out, in a spiritual sense also, it is dead. because nothing can come out from that water. An archaeological confirmation of the location of the cities may be provided by discoveries at Babedra. So one discovery at Babedra, what does it show? Located just east of El Lisan, Babedra was discovered. Ancient residing place was found at Babedra. This large fortified enclosure was thought to be a religious or festival site for nearby cities. This Babedra, remember, Babedra is not in the two town, Babedra. This Babedra was found near the Dead Sea. And when archaeologists had excavated or had studied this Babedra, what did they found? This large fortified enclosure was thought to be a religious or festival site for nearby cities. Though it is a small place, but a very big enclosure, okay? Enclosed by a wall. This city has been enclosed by a wall. Enclosure. Well, there were cemeteries and a worship center there. A cemetery was found there. And not only that, worship center was there. But no permanent dwelling appeared. From the study of the place, there was no permanent residing place, no house. So it shows that people from Sodom and Gomorrah went there to worship, or went there only to bury their dead bodies, or went there only to perform some religious duties in that enclosure at Babedra. And the study of the Babedra shows that there is no permanent residing place there. And what are the other things found? Let us see. Moreover, pottery and other artifacts excavated dated between 2300 and 1900 BC. Subsequently, the site was unused. It shows an abrupt close of the place. If Babedra were related to the activities of all in the area, this great site of Babedra on the Dead Sea probably belongs to the age of Sodom and Gomorrah. So based on the dating of the pottery and the artifacts being dug out from that Babedra, it was found that this place, the age of those pottery were 2300 to 1900 BC. So it is same with the time of Abraham. Abraham was around 2000 BC, remember? So this destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah took place at the time of Abraham. Remember the story? So this comes into the timeline of Abraham. The destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, the timing is the same. If Babedra were related activities of town in the area, of town, not own, of town in the area. This great site of Babedra on the Dead Sea probably belongs to the age of Sodom and Gomorrah. It remains dead from about the last half of the third millennium, when occupation came to an abrupt close. Okay, so the most important thing is that archaeological findings shows that the use of this place was closed suddenly. Okay, suddenly, abrupt close. For example, how do they find out? How do they conclude that all the activities of this place was in abrupt close? How do they find out? They had found out those pottery and those artifacts in such a way that people may think that they'll use again those pottery the next day, or they may use their material the next day. So they do not arrange it properly. they do not arrange it properly, in the sense that they thought that they'll be using those material the next day again. But based on the chaos, or so to say, the arrangement of their things, it shows that they are not ready at all. They are not ready for the closing of the place. It came into abrupt close, means suddenly. So that indicates that when this Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed suddenly, was destroyed suddenly, in a day, or in an hour, all the people died suddenly. So because of that, no one, if these two cities are destroyed, no one could visit here anymore, no priests, or no people from the city went there anymore, because all the people died out. Only Lot, his wife, and his two daughters escaped from these two cities. All the other people were dead on that same day. So though this Babel was not destroyed, it was not a part of the city, but if all the people of the cities died at the same time, no one will go there anymore the next day. So for that reason, when this Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed, this also being in vacant from that day onward. So the finding of the archaeologists shows that this Babel came into abrupt close. The only reason could be account to the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. There can be no other explanation why such an abrupt close could occur in that Babel. Now we're going to see the nature of destruction. How was Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed? The Bible says in a very plain language that God rained down fire and brimstone from heaven. But there is a more scientific explanation. Even for those who don't believe the Bible account, even for those who do not believe that God is the one who destroyed the city, but even the scientists also are very confident that the two cities are being destroyed by a very, very unnatural destruction. Let us see. Sometimes around the middle of the 21st century BC, the valley of Sodom with its cities was overwhelmed by a great conflagration. Conflagration means been burned out. Okay? Conflagration, burning out. That is what the Bible said. The Bible tells us that God rained upon Sodom and Gomorrah brimstone. Brimstone means sulfur. It's a gunpowder, okay? Brimstone, sulfur, and fire out of heaven. So this fire powder, so to say, a gunpowder, only a small piece of gunpowder. If you ignite it, it just bang out. It just explode. So if such a powerful gunpowder, if it just ran out in a large amount, in the last part of the day we will see how much would be that power. How much Hiroshima bomb. The power might be equal to 1,000 times of that Hiroshima bomb. We're going to see that in the last part of the lesson. And he overthrew those cities and all the plain. Not only the cities, but the plain surrounding the two cities. This region is said to have been full of slime pits, as we have seen in Genesis 14:10, full of slime pits. And petroleum deposits are still to be found here. Petroleum deposits are still found there. The entire region is on the long fault line, which form the Jordan Valley, the Dead Sea, and the Arabah. It is also in the fault line. Fault line. This is the earthquake. Okay, fault line. Means there is always a possibility of earthquake. Fault line. The entire region is on the long fault line, which from the Jordan Valley, the Dead Sea, and the Arabah. Throughout history, it has been the scene of earthquake. So, it is the scene, it is the place of frequent earthquakes. And although the Bible account records only the miraculous element, geological activities was doubtless an accompanying factor. So the Bible accounts records only the miraculous elements, but by nature also, it is possible that these natural calamities could occur easily in that places. Strabo attributes much of the destruction to earthquake. Strabo, they do not believe the Bible, but they still, after finding out the places, this Strabo attribute much of the destruction to earthquake. Strabo says that Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed because of earthquake. He was very confident because by seeing the landscape, by seeing the topography of the land, a great earthquake is possible. Josephus also described the burned-out appearance of the area and remains of the ruined city. Josephus also described the burned-out appearance. The burned-out appearance. Writing about the same time, Tacitus attributed the destruction of the cities of the plains to bolts of lightning. Tacitus, this Roman writer, says that a very big bolt of lightning. Lightning can destroy trees, houses, buildings, and can kill any living things. Okay, there's lightning. This lightning is a very, very high power electricity. Okay, wherever it hits, it can create a big explosion. Tacitus attributes the destruction of the cities to bolts of lightning and describe the burn-out appearance and destruction of the fertility of the land. So because of the burn out of the land, the fertility also lost. If we burn the land, if we burn the surface of the land, it is good for fertility. So all the June cultivation, we are burning out the surface part of the earth for increasing the fertility. But if it is so much burned out, no living organism could survive anymore, so this will be infertile again. If it is too much burn out, the fertility will be lost. So in the vicinity of that place, the soil is not fertile anymore. The only reason is that it was so much burned out. It is overburned, so to say. Some of the ancient writers also spoke of the existence of asphalt or bitumens appear in the Dead Sea region and continue to rise to the surface of the water. So some ancient writers also say that even from in the water surface we have found some petroleum seepage, asphalt seepage in the water also. Since petroleum is lighter than water, this part of the water bodies, petroleum, this asphalt was found. Some ancient writers also spoke of the essence of asphalt or bitumens appear in the Dead Sea. Harlan then reconstruct the story of the destruction as follows. So, combining all these facts written by historian, Harlan reconstruct like this, without the Bible, okay? Without looking at the Bible. How could that two cities be destroyed? Harlan reconstruct the story like this. A great earthquake, perhaps accompanied by lightning, brought utter rain and terrible conflagration to Sodom and the other communities in the vicinity. The destructive fire may have been caused by the ignition of gases and seepage of asphalt emanating from the region through lightning or the scattering of fire from huts, from the kitchen, okay? The salt and sulfur were carried up in the sky red hot, so that literally it rained fire and brimstone over the whole plain. So Harlan, so even those people who do not believe the Bible account, the Bible story, try to reconstruct from the evidence found, how could the two cities be destroyed? in a day. How could the two big cities, which was much larger than the modern cities of Jerusalem or other places, how could such two big cities be destroyed suddenly? So this Harlan, acquiring all those other facts found from the history, he reconstructs a story which is not in the Bible, but from his imagination he has to construct that. Since this is in the fault line, okay, fault line, there is a possibility of earthquake. Because all the scientists can accept that. And number two, it is a region very rich in petroleum product. Okay, petroleum product. It is rich in petroleum product, natural gas. It is rich in natural gas, so to say. So, because of earthquake, if all those petroleum inside the earth could come out, and if there is lightning, one writer said it is lightning. If the lightning ignite the petrol, the petroleum, the combustible substances, maybe asphalt or the bitumens, if a lightning could ignite the fire, or some people in the town from the kitchen, if a fire ignite those petroleum seepage, within a fraction of a second there can be a large explosion, a very, very big explosion. If all the petroleum in underground are being exploded, such explosion would create that. All the asphalt being found in the earth would be in the sky. If that big explosion would spread out fire in the sky. And those the days in the times of Abraham, the people may think that fire and brimstone are raining down. So people, for those who do not see from the place, those who look from the distance will not see the explosion, but can see that fire and brimstone raining down from heaven. That is what Harlan had suggested. So this is also believable in the sense that even the scientists believe that the raining down of fire and brimstone is possible. That is what I want to point out here. And who knows, God may use those same process also to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. But the Bible told us in a very plain language that God had rained down fire and brimstone. Frederick G. Clark also concluded from his geological survey that the slime pits were probably oil or bitumen seepage and held to the probability of the existence of natural gas in the area. Clark further observed that seepage of semi-fluid petroleum may still be found near the south end of the Dead Sea. So Frederick G. Clark also says that slime pits were still found there. From all this discussion, it is clear that there was an abundance of combustible material near the cities of the clan. Many combustible substance was there. And there is no reason to doubt the Genesis account of intense fire and smoke, and the raining of fiery substance on the cities, probably as a result of gas explosion, which threw burning material into the air. Some of the archaeological evidence are remains of pillars, street, house, levee, as wrought fissures in the ground, assy soil, score stroke means burnt out rock, and other evidence of general destruction of the region. So archaeologists had found out, the scientists had found out that remains of pillar. So I'm trying to show you those videos in the YouTube. You can see here when they dive inside this Dead Sea. Okay, when they dive inside this Dead Sea, they have found pillars. Okay, pillars And when they bring out those rocks, scorched rock, okay, very burnt out red rock, burnt out rocks are being found. At the same time, the sediments inside the Dead Sea, when they examine, it is a assy soil, ash. When he burn the charcoal, it turns into ash like that. Very assy soil was found there. So there, let us hit the last paragraph. Once a thriving urban city. The ruin possessed stratified remains of the fortified urban center, which is currently known as the Southern Lebanon, biggest continuously populated Bronze Age city. So the Sodom and Gomorrah was a Bronze Age city located on highland in the southern Jordan Valley, northeast of the Dead Sea. It was 10 times the size of Jerusalem and 5 times the size of Jericho at the time. Remember, 10 times the size of Jerusalem. How big is the city at that time? Evidence suggests that it was the urban hub of a city-state that lasted continuously for 3,000 years during the Chalcolithic period and Bronze Age between 4,700 BCE to 1650 BCE. So this other source had found out that this Sodom and Gomorrah was a very, very old cities, okay, which has continuously remained there for thousands of years. So that clearly shows that those two cities will be very big city based on the age of the city. Upon excavating, what did they find out? Upon excavating the final stratum, 1.5 meter of the Bronze Age layer, 1.5 meter below the surface, what did they find out? The archaeologists uncovered unusual debris pattern. These patterns were consistent in ancient cities that have been destroyed either by warfare or earthquake. So the pattern, the lining of the earth, shows that either destroyed by earthquake or by fire or by warfare. However, an earthquake or war would not explain the other stuff they found. Okay. Archaeologists also found that the arrangement of the layer of the earth, it is not because of earthquake. If it is because of earthquake, the things may be arranged in a different way. The outlining may be different. So they can find out that it was not because of earthquake. It was not because of warfare also. Human bones, pottery, shreds with other surface melted into glass. Okay, melted into glass. Some bubble acid boil melted and bubble mud brick fragments, particularly melted roofing clay and melted building plaster. Remember, glass is made from sand, isn't it? Sand, silica, glass. When the silica has been heated to very, very high temperature, it is converted into glass. So in this part of the discovery, they had found that melted glass, stripped with outer surface melted glass. So at those days, glass would not yet be invented. So if glass is not yet invented, how could a melted glass be found there? The only reason is that it is because of very, very high temperature that those melted glass are being found there. And also a boiled, melted and bubble mud brick fragment. So in such a high temperature, even the stone can be melted. You may know about the volcano, lava flow. In such a very high temperature, even the rock are being melted and flowing like water. That is called lava. So such are being found there. Some bubble acid boiled, melted and bubble mud brick fragments, particularly melted roofing clay and melted building made plaster are being found. This finding implied that unknown high temperature events, and we are talking temperature greater than 2000 degrees Celsius. Water boiled at 100 degrees Celsius, remember? So in this 2000 degrees Celsius, everything will be melted out. Were probably responsible for the city destruction. A variety of investigation on soil and sediments from the key layer gave more evidence as tiny iron and silicates spherules as well as molten metal. Soaked quartz. Okay, quartz. Quartz is like a diamond. Okay, very hard rock. Soaked quartz, finely fragmented and grains that only form 725,000 pounds per square inch of pressure, were among the most important findings. Soaked quartz. Okay, quartz. So this quartz is a very, very hot metal, but a scattered piece of the quartz are also being found. If you hit a glass, it will scatter into pieces. Especially those glass put in the vehicle. If you hit it once, if you put a pressure, without a pressure, it will not easily break. Those vehicle mirror or those vehicle glasses, transparent glasses. You can even bend up to some extent without breaking. But if you hit it, if you apply a very high pressure, it will be scattered into pieces. So like that, quartz, what they say, what it does say here, a soaked quartz, those very hot rock quartz being soaked by very high force. Finely fragmented grains. It may not be even visible in the naked eye, but those finely fragmented grains are being scattered in many of the places. So such scattering, such soaked quartz could be found in a very, very high temperature or very high pressure region only. The distribution of bones suggests severe disarticulation and skeletal fragmentation in the nearby domains. So the best example would be the atom bomb being dropped into cities of Japan, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Now the things found until this day at those Hiroshima and Nagasaki, even the soil fertility is still bad. And how powerful is those atom bomb? You can just imagine. If it is being dropped there in our main town, even in this, all this place will be turned into ashes, isn't it? Nothing will survive. Even the iron, even the rock, everything will be destroyed. So it is said that, though I have not written down I have not copied down those in the notes, but the destruction of the Sodom and Gomorrah, if such fire and brimstone could be raining down, the explosion could be equal to 1,000 times of Hiroshima bomb. That is what the scientists have suggested. So if such a large explosion had occurred in the two cities, okay, it is not possible anymore to find out. For example, if the explosion is not that bad, in the surface we will see a scattered iron or a melted iron or whatever we can still see. But the destruction is so vast and so much power, so powerful, so much so that everything was converted into ashes. So it is because of that nothing has been seen in the surface anymore except the earth itself. But we can prove that it is a burnout city. By diving into the Dead Sea and by studying the rock layer and the ground structure, if we have studied, we can confirm that these two cities are really located in those places below the Dead Sea. The two cities are found below the Dead Sea. God does not even allow people to see those two wicked cities. The account of Lot's wife being turned into a pillar of salt is certainly to be connected with the great salt mass in the valley, Jebel Uzdum, mountain of Sodom, a hill some 5 miles along and stretching north and south at the south end of the Dead Sea. So the Bible says that God forbid them to look back at the two cities. But after being escaped to the city, Lot's wife turned back, and the Bible says she's being turned into a pillar of salt. So until this day, people believe that Lot's wife's structure was still found, though it may not be the exact human-shaped structure. But one example is the Jebel Uzdum. In around this Dead Sea area, many salt mountain was found. And why can there be a salt mountain behind or besides those Dead Sea? The reason may be that during the time of the burning out of the two cities, many souls who has been exploded, when it returned back to earth, those soul contents, the high soul contents, even the soul lake, are being exploded. So when those souls dried out, it carved out many mountains. It carved out many hill-like structure. If you had studied the soil or the nature of the soil of those mountains, it is 30-40% salt. Not a soil, but salt. So if you type Sodom and Gomorrah, location of Sodom and Gomorrah in the YouTube, or if you have typed this accounts of Lot's wife, you'll be able to see many visitors went there every year until this day to see this Jebel Uzdum or mountain of Sodom. So from this account we can know that the Bible story of Genesis during the time of Abraham, the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, the story of Lot and his wife and his children are all the real happenings, are true as it has been foretold. Though the Bible explains in a very plain language, the truth of that plain language cannot be questioned. Because the scientists this day, the modern scientists explain in such a way. But during those times, if the Bible has been written in a very scientific language, people will not understand. Even us will not understand. Even ourselves will not understand those scientific terms. So Moses, through the guidance of the Holy Spirit, may use a very plain language that God rained down fire and brimstone upon the two cities. So the cause, even if it is, as the scientists believe, even if it is a natural calamity, it is still, the one who caused that calamity is still God. Okay? So, even if the explanation of the scientists, the many scientists and the many historians is true, the biblical facts still remain undoubted. It is still true, 100%. We cannot doubt the story of Sodom and Gomorrah being destroyed. So in the next lesson we'll be seeing the destruction of other cities as well, and why God destroyed those ancient cities and civilization. Why did God destroy? We'll see the reason in the next lesson. So far until this lesson 5. Today we are using up all the time, all the classes timing in this lesson alone, destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. You can access all those pictures and videos in the YouTube. You can see it yourself. And based on the notes given today, many questions can be asked. Location of the cities. Those are second hard point, the hints you have to learn. And the nature of destruction. And what are some of the archaeological findings? Like remains of pillars, street, house, levee, rock, fisheries in the ground, acid soils, coast rock, other evidence of general destruction. So this can come in the exam. And the accounts of Lot's wife. One of the great soul masses was Jebel Wisdom, Mount of Sodom. Was still found. You can still visit there, Mount of Sodom. So that is a remembrance of Lot's wife. So you can read the notes and be prepared for any questions about this question. That is all for today. Let us pray.